So today we're going to be talking about the Sony A7C, why I think it's one of the best starter slash travel cameras out there, why I ended up picking it up personally, a few upgrades I've done to it along the way, a couple of lens selections, and why I ended up choosing this guy over the Fuji X100VI. So let's dive into it. All right, so quick backstory on why I even ended up picking this guy up when my primary camera is the Sony A7R5. Now, recently I've been kind of looking for a small, compact, lightweight camera that I could throw in the bag, use as a daily carry type camera. And I was looking at the Fuji X100VI, but didn't feel like waiting 6 years to get one. And then I was looking at the Leica Q3 and didn't want to spend Leica Q3 money. So I stumbled upon the A7C, which is budget friendly, checks all the boxes, good quality, small, compact. What more can you ask for? So I ended up picking this guy up, and for its first trip, its first tour to duty, I got to take it to Augusta, Georgia for the Masters golf tournament. Checked it off my bucket list. I've always dreamed of going to that place and finally made it happen. Probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. So walked around the course with this guy, got some amazing shots, and I was just thinking, even though this guy is a few years old, it still competes and holds its weight with some of the newer cameras coming out to this day. So a lot of you guys have been asking me, what's a good starter camera if you're just getting into photography? And figured no better time than to make this video and talk about this little guy. So let's dive into it. First things first, let's go ahead and talk about specs and pricing when it comes to the Sony A7C. So you can find this thing brand new going for around $15.99 US, and you can even find it used going for around $1,000 to $1,200. I've seen it across multiple websites, so pretty budget friendly. Now, as far as specs go, you're getting the same internals as the Sony A7 III. Basically, it has a full frame 24.2 megapixel sensor. You're getting 4K video up to 30 frames per second. You're getting 1080p up to 100 frames per second. So you can even double this thing as a little vlog camera or getting some B-roll when you're out and about. You also get the little flip out rotating screen, which definitely comes in handy, and you're getting interchangeable lenses, which was a huge selling point for me. Now, with that being said, there are a ton of different lens choices for this camera. So let's go ahead and dive into a few that I recommend. Now, when it comes to lenses for the Sony E-mount ecosystem, the options are pretty much endless. You have everything from the native Sony lenses to aftermarket brands like Sigma and Tamron, Voltrox, the list goes on. But there are a few specific lenses that I would definitely recommend for this camera, just kind of depending on what you're wanting out of your camera and what you plan on using it for. Now, me, I love street photography and I love portraits, so I'm sticking with a prime lens, and there are some great budget-friendly prime lenses available for this guy from the native Sony ecosystem. So first off, you have the Sony 35mm, the 85mm, and the 50mm f1.8 lineup, with the 50mm coming in as the cheapest, and it is a phenomenal lens. I mean, for 250 bucks, you throw this thing on there, you're getting f1.8, so night shots are crispy. You're getting that nice creamy bokeh background, and it's small, lightweight, compact. So paired with the A7C, it's just a phenomenal setup for any beginner or even a travel lens. You just want to kind of roll light. This setup will definitely get you there. Now, there are a few other brands that I like as well. And if you're trying to go the more zoom route, have a few more, a little more versatility in your lens, I would definitely recommend these three right here, which is the new Sony 25-50 f2.8, the Tamron 17-28 f2.8, and the Tamron 28-75 f2.8. All of these are fantastic lenses. The Sony does come in, a little higher price point, but it is a brand new release. Sony just released it a couple weeks ago. So you're getting all that new Sony tech within that lens. Now, these Tamrons are fantastic budget options with excellent image quality as well. But some lenses that I really recommend for this camera, just because I wanted to keep it nice, compact, light, and small, ready to go, are these new compact Sony lenses that are phenomenal. When they dropped, I wasn't sure what Sony was trying to do with them, but when I got my hands on them, I kind of understood the purpose. So basically, I got the Sony 40mm f2.5, but there are the 50mm and the 24mm. They all come in at the same price point. They're small, they're lightweight, compact, and the image quality is phenomenal. I ended up taking this guy to the Masters with me, and I just took it on a photo shoot the other day in downtown Houston, and I was honestly surprised at the image quality and the bokeh and the creaminess of the backgrounds on some of these shots. So this lens stays on this camera for me. It gives me a nice, compact, lightweight setup that I love. So those are a few lens choices, just depending on kind of what you're going for and what you're trying to get out of your camera. Now let's talk about why I ended up choosing this guy over the Fuji X100VI. So let's go ahead and talk about a few of the reasons why I ended up choosing the Sony A7C over that Fuji X100VI. Because let's face it, we all know that Fuji is the internet's favorite camera right now. Everyone's raving about it. And I'll give it to Fuji. It is a sexy little camera with some pretty decent specs. But after doing my homework, after doing a little bit of research, I came to the conclusion that it just wasn't for me, and the Sony was gonna be more beneficial for what I was looking for. And the first reason, the most major selling point for me, is the fact that the Sony has interchangeable lenses, which means you can have different focal lengths and so on and so forth. With the Fuji, you are stuck at that 35mm equivalent on the crop sensor lens, and 35 is just a little too wide for me. I'm not a wide guy. I like it nice and tight.
Hold up, wait a minute.
I like, 50mm, 85mm. I like having options. I mean, we all like having a little options, especially if you're just getting into photography. Maybe this is your first camera purchase. Being stuck to that one focal length might not be very beneficial for your growth, and it's not really future-proof. You'll probably find yourself wanting to explore different focal lengths, different lenses, and different things of that nature. So it only makes sense to go with the Sony. Now, the second reason is the fact that this guy is full frame. The Fuji is crop sensor. Now, nothing is wrong with crop sensor, but the fact that I really like to shoot night photography, low light photography, having a full frame allows in more light, gives you better image quality for those low light shots. And we all know Sony is the low light king. So if you're really big into night photography, having this full frame might really benefit you. And the fact that it's such a small camera, itty bitty body with a full frame sensor is just the cherry on top. So for the third reason, and this might just apply to me, but I'm already in the Sony ecosystem. I got all the Sony lenses, I have my A7R5, I have the FX3. It only made sense to continue the trend. I mean, this guy takes the same batteries as the FX3, as the A7R5, the A7 III, A7 IV. I mean, they all take the same batteries, and if I went Fuji, I'd need new batteries, I'd need battery chargers, I'd need new lenses, or you can't change the lens. So yeah, it just made sense to stay with the Sony family for me. Now, you might be asking, well, what about the recipes? You know, Fuji is known for having the recipes, shooting in JPEG, being able just to pop them out and they're good to go. Well, what I say to that is, I like editing. That's kind of one of my favorite parts. Yeah, sure, getting the image and capturing those memories is definitely the exciting part, but getting home and looking at what you captured and editing it and making it your own creation, I mean, that's 50% of the enjoyment. So that was another thing I really didn't care for, was a little gimmicky to me. I didn't see myself really using the recipes, and that's kind of what they're known for. So I find the Fuji is gonna be for more of the experienced photographer, somebody that's been in it a while, has a bunch of gear already, has their main cameras already, and is just looking for something to kind of change it up, something a little different, something to throw in the bag, maybe spark a little creativity. But for somebody, beginner, just getting into the craft, I definitely think it would be more beneficial, more future-proof, and give you more options going with something like the Sony A7C. So those are the reasons that I went with this guy. Now let's talk about how I got this thing built out, because it is pretty sexy with these upgrades. So let's dive into it. Now, as far as the upgrades that I've done to this thing are pretty minimal, but they do give it a nice little sexy facelift. One of them being this thumb grip right here. It basically attaches to the cold shoe, allows you to, you know, grip it pretty nicely because it is a small frame camera. Now, the second thing is this Hogue lens cap, lens hood, and it just gives you that kind of squared off look here. Gives you a nice round cap. When you're done, pop it on, good to go. It looks good, it looks sexy, and I mean, it is functional as a lens hood, so it's not just for aesthetics, but I'll be honest, it was just for the aesthetics for me. So without it, you basically just rotate it, pull it off. It's just a flat little pancake of a lens. This is that 40mm. And with it, it does extend the barrel a little bit, but like I said, I like the look of it. I wanted it to be a nice little sexy camera that I would look forward to shooting with. So that's it for the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it helps you with your decision if you're either looking for a camera as a beginner or you've been thinking about that Fuji X100VI. Whatever route you go, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.